Well, welcome back. You're watching the 700 Club. Now, I want to introduce to you a good friend who's been in this program several times, Suzy Cohen. Now, she's the pharmacist who's not afraid to stand up to the drug companies. She says many of what they sell actually robs your body of what it needs. And now Suzy is revealing how you can boost your brain and your body without taking a single drug prescription.
Suzy Cohen is America's most trusted pharmacist. For more than 2 decades, she's explored the use of vitamins, minerals, and supplements in the treatment of medical ailments. Suzy prefers alternative medicines instead of synthetic drugs to help the body heal naturally without harmful side effects.
That's very helpful.
Well, she's a marvelous person, Suzy Cohen. This latest one is called Recipes for a Better Memory, and it looks so attractive and all kinds of pretty pictures. Suzy, it's good to see you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. All right, let's start with a memory. What are you going to tell us about that? This looks fascinating, all these beautiful pictures of all these nice things we can eat.
Right? And they're delicious recipes, too. And one of the simplest ones is one of the most powerful for your brain.
What's that?
Avocado toast.
Come on.
Yes, and I eat it every morning for breakfast.
Well, now, wait a minute. That's a piece of brown bread, and you've got avocado. How do you do that paste?
It's simple. It's just avocado. I spread it on there. It's nature's mayonnaise.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about it is it helps with memory over time because avocados have a rich supply of glutathione, which is a powerful antioxidant.
Yeah.
And it sweeps away free radicals from your brain. And in addition, it also supplies oxygenation to the brain. So your brain needs oxygen in order to be nourished. And we have to feed our brain somehow. I mean, if we don't feed our brain, who else will?
So those Mexicans that have all that avocado, they're eating properly? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. One more reason to enjoy guacamole.
Yeah, okay. Right.
But I eat this for breakfast. I just put a squeeze of lime on it and sometimes radishes, and it's actually very good. You can also scramble up an egg.
You've got a whole array of things here. What else have you got?
So these two herbs are interesting. They're both found inside of memory script. And the first one is Phosphatidyl Serine, which, as you know, is helpful for sleep.
Well, I take that regularly. A lot of people, you see, well, my memory's good enough to remember phosphatidyl serine and phosphatidylcholine.
The fact that you can say that and distinguish those two amino acids is impressive. So we have to protect our brain because, let's face it, our brain is under attack.
Yeah.
We eat foods, they contain MSG, they contain artificial flavors and sweeteners and all kinds of junk. Food is not what it used to be.
Talk about the MSG. I mean, I went after the soup companies, and they all, you know, one company began to advertise, we don't have any MSG, but they load it into everything.
Yes, they do. And I have a Google alert set up for MSG so I can track what's happening in the market globally. And it's a marketing campaign designed to improve the sales of MSG. They put it in everything. And MSG there's arguments that could be made for both sides of it, but essentially it breaks down into something that leaves the body with glutamate. And glutamate is an excitotoxin.
Yeah.
And it can make the cells, vibrate enough to where they eventually die. It's an excitotoxin. So the way to balance that is to improve levels of GABA. Glutamate goes to GABA in a chemical reaction through complements of an enzyme in our body that is abbreviated as GAD. I don't want to complicate things, but I want people to know that MSG doesn't hurt everyone. Some people do fine because they can, clear it of the body, but most people by and large do experience anxiety from it, and it can be a toxin to the brain and it can damage memory over time. And if you, do a quick search, you'll see all of that.
Give me a couple of foods where you can find the MSG, where they've...
It's in everything, unfortunately. It's in everything. And then we have to deal with also free glutamate and foods that are rich in glutamate. For example, bone broth is a wonderful immunostimulant, but bone broth is high in natural free glutamate, which is not the same as MSG, but in the body it can act the same. And for people who've been suffering with anxiety or insomnia, this can be a real trigger for them.
The glutamate comes from what?
The free glutamate exists in certain foods, and then the MSG is different. It's an additive that food companies will add as a flavor enhancer to make it taste good. And so we have to protect the brain. So in short, things that we can do to improve the brain function will help.
You also talked about these sweeteners, these artificial sweeteners. Now, how do they react?
Same way. They can, tickle the brain in a bad way.
Why and how?
Because they're artificial. So they stick to the cells and they make the cells sick and they alter receptor sensitivity and all of that. And so it's our job, this year, as many people are looking at the resolutions, they want a new you, it's a new year, they want a new brain, and so, we're looking at ways to improve brain function and then antioxidants and energy.
They cause fat. I mean, people actually get fat taking sweet and low in those artificial sweeteners.
There are studies to suggest that, yes, it's so ironic that people who are using artificial sweeteners, for example, in diet soda, are still gaining weight. And the reason for that is because the body it's sort of tricked and it's not metabolizing that properly. And it doesn't process fat as well as it should, and it impacts other parts of our body, other hormones like cortisol. And so we really have to take care of what we put into our body. Otherwise, we can get into a situation of
this discussion in this program talking about intestinal flora. Some of those artificial sweeteners actually kill the intestinal flora, don't they?
Yes, they do. And so do medications. They can, it's like a drug mugger of our gut flora. And it's interesting, I heard you in the green room talking about, antibiotics affecting the gut flora, but some of them can do much worse. And in fact, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I've had my share of dealing with health issues, not myself, but my loved one, my husband. And essentially he was poisoned by an antibiotic about 20 years ago.
Poisoned?
Yes.
But what antibiotics was he taking?
I'm not sure I should say. I want to continue to, it's not a good thing to talk about right now. But one day, when we can do another segment, I would devote a segment to that, because this antibiotic is dispensed by the millions and it can harm the neurology of the brain. But the blessing out of that, and he's getting better, he's doing great.
It was a temporary thing, it was an ongoing thing?
It can cause permanent damage to the neurology, and some of it can be also reversible. So anyway, I don't want to alarm people. I just want people to know that not only do some antibiotics...
An array of things in front of it. I don't want to miss them. It looks like that's a big pile of chocolate. What is that?
Absolutely. So we're going to get to that.
Talk about it.
So back to the memory. So because a lot of people want a new brain, and again, we are under attack from antibiotics, from medications and artificial sweeteners and all that. So we have phosphatidyl serine, which helps the cell membranes speak to each other.
I take that regularly.
Isn't it great? And then we have lion's mane. This is a medicinal mushroom. So lion's mane is a smart mushroom, and they name it lion's mane because on a tree it looks like a lion's mane. It's really cool. And I want to really talk about this for 1 second because it's a nootrope. And a nootrope is the new buzzword for 2018. A nootrope is a word that means, it's a buzzword now, that means that you can improve cognitive function and memory. And so lion's mane and phosphatidyl serine help you do that. They help you build a better brain. And let's face it, we all crave intelligence.
Well, indeed,
we all want to feel a little smarter.
All right.
And then now, so this was DHA. These are just soft gels of DHA.
That's from fish oil, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Most people associate fish oil with their triglycerides and their cholesterol. However, DHA is fish oil for the brain. And so if we can just think about the brain, we always assume it's the brain cells that help us, but it's really the space between the brain cells, right? The cells don't touch each other. There's a synapse, which is the word for a space between the cells, and those neurotransmitters have to jump from one neuron to another. We are only as smart as how well we can get those neurotransmitters across the space, across the synapse, and DHA helps that.
Well, now, this is fish oil, but what kind is it that has the other's EPA in it?
Fish oil naturally contains both EPA and DHA, but I formulated this to be a very high DHA. It's super potent, and it has a little bit of EPA because they work synergistically.
All right, well, now
but DHA...
do you make that available yourself? I mean,
I do. It's at my website. All of these are.
All right.
And so the DHA, and people can buy it anywhere. It's a wonderful supplement that is widely available. And in my formula, I actually put a little vitamin D to make it work better and support
Does fish oil hurt you if you don't have the DHA? The EPA, is that bad for you?
They need to be in some kind of ratio. So yeah, you want to have a healthy proportion of that. And a lot of people don't want to eat mackerel. They don't want to eat, cod and tuna, and they're worried about heavy metals. DHA is fish oil for your brain, and it helps to improve focus and memory and attention. And this is sort of like a 1-2 punch. DHA with a memory formula.
What is this big bottle here?
So this is hydrogen peroxide.
Oh, yeah.
So people can buy this at pharmacies everywhere. It's an antiseptic, right? It's peroxide. We know to put that on wounds and cuts. But what people don't realize is we make that in our body. Our cells make peroxide, and peroxide can be an oxidant. It's a free radical. Too much can make us feel gray and gloomy, and I'll show you that on a graphic.
All right.
Okay, so here we go. So it's a process called peroxidation, and the H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide. We make that in our cells, and in excess, it's dangerous because it can leave us feeling gray and wrinkly, and it oxidizes, it rusts the body, right? So the only way to break that down is via catalase or glutathione, as you can see. That will break the hydrogen peroxide, which is harmful, into something that's wonderful and incredible and life-sustaining, water and oxygen. And this happens in our body 1 trillion times a day. But as we age, our liver runs out of catalase. We get lower amounts of catalase.
All right,
so
what do you do?
If you'd like to supplement with catalase, what happens is it neutralizes that peroxide, turns it into water and oxygen. And here I can show you. I should leave that on here. This is hydrogen peroxide in a flask. And I'm going to pour it on the liver, because I can't take my own liver out.
Is that a liver?
Yeah, I can't.
And that's hydrogen peroxide? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and the bubbles you see are the oxygen being released. So the liver contains the catalase, and since I can't take mine out, I put, cow liver on the plate. And as you can see, when we pour peroxide, it gets neutralized into water and oxygen, and that's what you're seeing right there.
So is that good or bad?
It's good, because from the graphic, what we're doing is we're taking that hydrogen peroxide and our liver, which contains catalase, which is an antioxidant, turns that peroxide into water and oxygen. Now, to the regular person, what does that mean? It's hard to say for every single person who supplements with it, but I can tell you this: if you look in the mirror and you're not really happy with, the signs of aging and the vibrancy of your hair, maybe an antioxidant like catalase would be right for you. So people need to think of catalase as a new antioxidant, such as vitamin C or vitamin E or glutathione. It's sort of like that. It's very specific to breaking down hydrogen peroxide and also formaldehyde.
The glutathione, what is the effect of that? It doesn't come, if you take that by itself, it's not going to do anything. It's got to change it. It
works better with catalase together to break down peroxide, but it's also a powerful antioxidant. And then the next way that we can help ourselves this year, a lot of people want to be more flexible. They, want to feel less creaky when they get out of bed. And so one of the most powerful things we can do is take supplements of frankincense, which is known as boswellia in the medical world. Boswellia. It's also frankincense, and that's what's shown right here.
All right.
Okay, and then, so that help us be more flexible. And then the next one is the battery. And I've brought the battery to show people that our cells contain mitochondria. And the mito, for short, produces ATP, and it's cellular energy in the body. It's our battery. But most B complexes don't get into that. There's a new form of B12 called adenosylcobalamin, which I'll just call it adeno B12, and it gets into the mitochondria, so it gets into the battery of the cell. It's amazing, and it really powers up the cell to produce more ATP.
People have been pushing B12 forever. I mean, sublingual B12 and all that kind of thing.
True, but it doesn't always work, and there's shots of it, and sometimes it's effective for a short period of time, but then it stops working, and that may be because our body doesn't have all of the minerals and nutrients and cofactors to activate that synthetic form. Adenosylcobalamin and methylcobalamin are more natural, and they get into the cell, and then they get into the battery.
the battery is the mitochondria.
Yes.
That's the cell.
Yes,
core.
and that's where you want your vitamins to get in. And unfortunately, most do not. So that's the key. And then the final piece is for people who are interested in energy and detoxification. Everybody knows what a green drink is. It's a powder, you mix it with water.
Yeah.
But most of them taste like freshly mowed grass. So if you want to smell this one, this is one that I formulated that's free of goitrogens. A goitrogen suppresses iodine.
Smells good. It's fragrant. Yeah.
It's sweet. It's naturally sweet from acai and pineapples, and it's mixed with dulse.
What is this? This is Thyroid Greens. Does it affect your thyroid or what?
Yes and no.
No.
So yes, it's safe for people with a thyroid condition. It was formulated by myself for people because most other greens on the market contain cereal grasses and things that can harm the thyroid. So over time, it hurts their thyroid over time.
Well, I know
so this is
one company that sold barley green. That was the big thing, barley.
Yeah.
And wheatgrass.
Yes, and those are greens too. And so some of them
are
are
they good or
goitrogen.
bad?
It depends. If you have a thyroid condition, they're not great because they're raw goitrogens that are suppressing iodine. So this is good for everybody, whether or not you have a thyroid problem. But say you're not eating your fruits and vegetables every day, so you have this nutritional gap.
Okay.
So you can fill that. If you can't eat your greens or the ones you're taking taste like freshly mowed grass, then you can drink them.
Suzy, how do they get in touch with you with all these interesting things? Your company formulates and sells all these things that we're talking about?
Yes, my company is basically me. So I've downloaded 30 years of knowledge as a pharmacist and holistic practitioner, and I understand metabolic pathways really well. So, to formulate supplements that are very targeted, I'm the girl you want for this job.
All right. How do we get hold of you if we want to get some of these things?
So I have a special at my website. It's suzycohen.com/700. And for our viewers only, I will be giving away the ebook. It's instantly downloadable with all of these recipes. Help you with memory, so eat to preserve your mind, and also a free 2-week supply of the Mito B complex.
My goodness.
This one right
It's
here. It's this one.
The 12.
Yes, it gets into the battery of the cell with every purchase. So that's what's happening today at suzycohen.com/700. And I will take really good care of everyone.
All right. Suzy Cohen, you're terrific. Ladies and gentlemen, she knows what she's talking about. And again, it's Suzy Cohen 700. Is that what?
suzycohen.com/700. And we have all kinds of resources and free ebooks and everything.
Well, I appreciate you doing this, and I hope because people really do want better memory, and I'm familiar with most of these things. Of course, I do not slather that comes from a nut, doesn't it? The green.
Which one?
No, the one that's on the toast over there.
Oh, the whole wheat. Yeah, that's fine. So you can eat any. I put my avocado on sourdough bread. The basic take-home message I have for people today who are starting the new year fresh is you can do it. And if you just put your mind to it and change some of the easiest habits possible, it will be simple. As an example, the people who have the worst memory, ironically, will be the ones who forget to take their supplements. So a simple trick you can do is just put this by your toothbrush or whatever supplement that you want to be taking, whatever it is. Put it by your toothbrush, you won't forget.
Are we killing ourselves? There's so many fat people in this country. I mean, really fat.
I think people forget that food is a choice, and every time they pick up a meal from their store or grocery store, they have a choice, and it becomes a habit that's reflexive. When you start, stopping every day after work at the, fast food chains and stuff like that, every day becomes a habit, and then you start to do it without thinking, and that's where we get into trouble. But an occasional indulgence, I'm all for it.
Well, Suzy, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a trick for your memory all the way up and down the line. From guacamole up through some of these things that will deal with your memory and phosphatidyl. That's a hard thing to say, but when I talk about phosphatidyl serine and phosphatidylcholine, they look at you like you must have a good memory. You couldn't remember those things. But anyhow, Suzy.
It's amazing, and studies show that it helps consistently improve depressive symptoms
Yeah.
and memory recall with the phosphatidyl serine.
I take it.
It's in their neutropes, the buzzword for 2018.
Every day I take phosphatidyl serine, and it's good. Well, anyhow, thank you, Suzy. God bless you, and we appreciate this. Folks, you can be better. There's no reason to say, I'm getting older, so I've got to, things have to go away. This is Recipes for a Better Memory, and you can get this on Suzy's website, too. Interesting, all kinds of walnuts and interesting
Yeah, they
food.
used to tell us you can't build any more brain cells, but that's not true. It's done through a process of neurogenesis, and we all know genesis, the
Yeah.
creation of, and neuro, short for neuron, which is a brain cell. So through the process of neurogenesis, we can build a better brain.
So we don't have to have them decline over the years, that's what you're saying?
We don't have to.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. We can keep it plastic by doing puzzles and keeping our brain active and eating right, exercising is huge, and of course supplementation if necessary.
I'm going to 100 or better, and I want to make sure
Amen.
I've got all these things. Suzy, thank you very much.